All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week I explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life, your business, your health, your finances, and relationships. And today I've got a very special guest, Rosalie Salamone, with me, and we are going to talk all about building and maintaining authentic connections. So if you are tired of playing the social media game and you want to have more genuine and authentic conversations with actual humans that you can see turn into really positive opportunities for both you and them, then today is for you. So I know some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larissa McCooch, author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, Discover the Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom, and CEO of Abundance Academy, where we work with professional women to stop holding themselves back and manifest the life they desire. And Rosalie, I'm just going to share a little bit about her before we start diving into our topic for today. But Rosalie Salamone is a seasoned recruitment expert with 19 years of experience in the recruitment field, including 12 years in the construction and industrial sectors. She's also the founder of Dedita Recruitment Consultant. She has successfully staffed projects valued up at over $1 billion and serves organizations all across Canada. So I first met Rosalie here on LinkedIn, and we just had such an amazing conversation. We stayed in touch and built connection. I absolutely loved her energy, loved her integrity, loved her authenticity, and also her effectiveness. She's just a really great human being. So if this is your first time here, tell us where you're coming in from. If you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat, because we want to welcome you and we want you to hear so much goodness from Rosalie. So thank you, Rosalie, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yay. It's awesome. So Rosalie, when I think recruitment, after I met you, I had a whole different impression on what recruitment was. I think I used to think recruiters were just people that headhunted people and secured them in different positions. And when I met you and you really talked about building your business with human connection, that was a very different conversation I'd had to any recruiter. I just randomly met a whole bunch of them, and I thought it was so beautiful. But what initially drew you into this field of recruitment, and how has your journey evolved over the past 19 years?
Well, thanks for having me again. I'm really excited. I love talking about recruitment. I kind of almost label myself a recruitment nerd in a way. It's a passion of mine. It's my craft, as I call it. I started in the field of recruitment in a very simplistic way. I was an HR admin back in the day, and my manager had tasked me with filling a job. And so I was up for the task, never done anything like that before. She was great at training me. And I have to say, making that connection, and that's truly what I call it, a connection between an employer and another individual, it sparked something in me. I've always had a great passion for connecting with other individuals. I love conversation. I love learning about people and then connecting and learning about organizations and managers and everything. And so I learned very quickly that the ability to link what a position required and what a person wanted, and linking those two just sparked my interest within recruitment. And then from there, I just kind of drove myself to learn my craft. I've had great mentors throughout my career. I was like a sponge. Now, some of my mentors were people who were recruiters, and my managers throughout my career. Others were hiring managers. I learned a lot from hiring managers themselves and what they really want. And then conversations with candidates. I love having conversations within networks, similar to how we kind of connected. And in someone saying, can we have a conversation? I will do my best always to kind of find space within my calendar to have those conversations, because I think it's so important to know who you're connected with, and then where that might fit in other areas and organizations themselves.
Yeah. And being in such a male dominated industry, what motivated you to focus on construction? Right? Like construction is very masculine energy. I know you've got a lot of men in your household. However, how did you get into the construction recruitment? Because that was something else that when I'd met you, I'd always just met recruiters. They didn't necessarily specialize. Other than banking, there weren't a lot of recruitment specialists that I'd encountered. So how did you get into that?
It fell into my lap, to be honest. It wasn't something that I pursued. It wasn't something that I was going to make it mine. I was a generalist in recruitment. I hired for finance, administration, different forms of management, any industry really, and then had gotten the opportunity from someone in my network for an opportunity to hire within the construction field. Didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I fell in love with it. And I think I fell in love with it because of the energy that's associated in construction, the passion that's associated with it. And yes, it's male dominated, and there are females within the industry, and that's growing as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I did grow up in a very male dominated type family. I have only boys myself. And so I was very familiar with male energy. I was very comfortable being within male energy as well too. But at the same time, to me, people are people, female or male. Great people are great people. And the passion that comes within construction, there's passion in all industries for sure, but it really linked to me personally. And I don't know if it was one particular thing. As I was hiring for projects, they say in construction that you have a pride or a passion for building things, changing the landscape of the industry and where you live, and being part of a team to do that, build a team that will eventually accomplish that, for me, just spoke volumes. And I really did, it attracted me to it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of specialized in that area, learned a lot about construction. I even took on an opportunity where I could work as a coordinator, administrator on a construction project while building a team. And learning, contracts and what's discussed in meetings, and, how the whole process of building a project was, really helped refine it and really helped me put my heels on the ground to say, this is the industry that I'm passionate about for sure.
Yeah. And I love that you had that intuitive hit and you followed your gut. You did the work. You didn't just willy-nilly jump into it. You really did your homework with it and became that specialist. Like you said, dig your heels in the ground. Now, because it is so male dominated, and obviously you are a woman, have you how have you been able to maintain your feminine energy? Like, or did you even consider it? I know that's something that you've been actively working on this past year or so, but was that even a consideration? Was that an awareness, or how is that come up for you, balancing this masculine and feminine in this kind of industry?
I'll be honest, it was never really too much of a focus, because I'm so much about people in general, and connecting with people. I never really focused too much on I'm speaking to a man or I'm speaking to a woman. And so it never really was, oh, I'm in a male dominated industry. It's when someone will mention it and they're like, oh, it's very male dominated. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it is. But the people that I've worked with have just become part of my life. And so in turn, it hasn't really become ever a major focus. Yes, I've learned how to soften my edges a little bit. I was a very factual kind of person, and I've learned a lot about myself. And we've talked about with female energy versus male energy, and it kind of opened my mind to what those differences are. But it never really was at the forefront that I was in a male dominated. It was just I was in this incredible environment with individuals that have taught me so much about their craft that is translated into how I can improve my craft. And the way that individuals think and what drives them, that kind of thing, but never really stuck. It never really was something that popped up. But it may be because, I've got a lot of men in my life. Like I have brothers and I have boys and I have a husband and I have dad. Like I have uncles and male cousins. I've quite a few in my life. And so it was never really at the forefront. And it might be just because of how I was raised in more of, people are people and don't necessarily focus on, okay, well, you're in this pegged hole. It was more of, tell me about yourself. Tell me what drives you. And that's kind of where my conversations always drove and how my career kind of drove.
And I love your curiosity in two people. I think that's a really beautiful attitude you've got, because from so many women that I have talked to that do come from that industry, they have a negative taste in their mouth. They perceive themselves as less than, or they perceive that they are not being treated fairly, or there's a different shift in dynamic. And I think obviously you've chosen to take a very radically different attitude, like people are people, which is amazing. And you've been able to provide so much service and give back, and obviously command respect in that industry. But I think sometimes when we aren't experiencing equality, it can often be our perception of things. And I love your attitude. I love your perception of your situation. It's just like people are people. I think the more we can take that attitude, the better it can be for all. So
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So how is your approach to recruitment different than so many other people's in the marketplace? Like what's your secret sauce? What do you do that's unique that other people may not do? Like obviously you've got certain due diligence that you have to do, but what makes Rosalie and what makes Dedita Recruitment so different?
I think I've heard a lot of, so when I started Dedita or even my career, I'll be honest, I didn't really focus too much about anybody else and what they were doing or how they strive to be successful. And the main reason being is because I don't know how to be anybody but myself. I think I tried once in my life and I failed miserably. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be who I am. And the people that work with me work well with that. And so when I was kind of striving on how I wanted to do Dedita Recruitment, I'm a team person. I work well with a team. I love to solve problems. I find recruitment more like a puzzle than conquering something. And so that's where kind of more my strategy came in and how I built Dedita. I've always wanted to run my own business. I had been told by so many people, even my doctor, have you started your business yet? Have you started your business yet? And so when I started the company, I thought, I don't want to be like everybody else. And I'm sure there's other companies out there that are structured like me. But again, I never focused on what is everyone else doing. When I built it, I sat it down and I said, what do I want to do? Because that's the only way I'm going to make this successful or long-term. What do I need in my life right now? I have small children. And how do I want to build this up to be more authentic in who I am? So be understanding where companies needed assistance. And, I've done things where I've sat down with hiring managers and we've strategized to say, this is where I'm thinking, but this is where some of the gaps are. What are your thoughts? This is what the team looks like. And so we've strategized on what makes sense. And so it's like a problem that you want to solve, right? And then on the flip side, it's been with candidates saying, this is ultimately where I want to be. I'm not too sure how to get there, and almost getting them out of their own heads to kind of say, okay, well, let's set a goal. Let's set a strategy. It doesn't always have to be straightforward. Sometimes you're going to need to pivot, but those pivots end up making sense for you. So I wanted Dedita to be more like a consulting. Dedita means dedicated. And so I am dedicated to my craft of recruitment. And I wanted to feel like a consulting service. And yes, I place people in positions. It is very structured. I make sure that I do it methodically and so that, I'm getting all the information from the candidate and the companies and seeing if there's a good link. But I wanted it to feel like I wasn't just finding people. Anyone can find people. We want to find the right fit. It's a match, right? You want longevity, you want career growth, you're there most of your day, right? With these people. And so if I'm presenting a candidate to an employer or presenting an employer to a candidate, I really want to understand, is it that match? And so it is truly more like consulting. I'm not afraid to say, I don't really think this is in line with what you're looking for with your career. And I'm not afraid to say to a client to say, I had a conversation. I'm not too sure this lines up with what you said your team really needs and what this position requires and where you want to take the department or the company to go. And so that's kind of where I set my mindset. I've had great conversations with others within the industry, and they've been successful doing it their way. And I think that they do their craft their way very well. But I've always had a very customer service focused type personality, and I always want to strive to do my best, but staying authentic. And so that's how I kind of created my company, with just focusing on me so that I make sure I'm delivering the most authentic service that I can to my clients.
Yeah. And that must obviously feel good and feel aligned and feel really congruent for you. So beautiful.
It does.
Yeah. And so today we're talking about building authentic relationships, maintaining those authentic connections. And so from your perspective, how crucial are these authentic relationships in the recruitment process?
They're so important. I'll be honest. I have relationships that I've built with candidates or with companies from when I first started my career. I've never taken any relationship that I've built for granted. I've sometimes haven't spoken to people in a long time, so I'll message them when they pop up on my LinkedIn. How are things going? And I truly want to understand how things are going. And it's not necessarily a transaction thing, but I think a relationship that you build with a network or with an employer, whoever it may be, it should feel like that, like a relationship, not just a transaction. And so that's kind of the approach that I took and I've always taken. But again, I'm a social person. I'm all about team. I love to have conversation. And so relationships for me flow very, very easily. And I understand maybe my approach doesn't work for most people, and that's completely okay. I think there is recruiters out there that, it is more transactional and that works well for them. But in terms of the relationships that I've built, conversations I've had, it's found to be quite good.
Okay, so this might seem really obvious. However, let's say someone doesn't know how to actually start a relationship or build a relationship. Like, pretend we have never ever gone on LinkedIn. We don't even know where to start. We don't know what to do. Like, if I was an employer looking to build strategic relationships, or if I was a candidate looking to build strategic relationships and I had zero clue, where would I start and what specifically would I do? Like, how do you actually build a relationship? I know this is like kindergarten for you.
No, it's okay. So it's the same, I'll say, to be honest, the same way I build connections now are the same way I did when I first started. Reaching out to people within your industry and making it not about a quick transaction. Hey, I need this. Do you have it? No? Okay, thanks. Bye. And that's it. And I think that's where a lot of the challenge comes from in terms of making those connections. There's a lot of groups out there where people put up for discussion. And I think there's so many people out there that have such great experience and different experiences that they can contribute. contributing to social media chat groups on your opinion and starting conversations that way are a great way to start to build your network. There's events all over the city that you could attend. And I do get sometimes it can be a bit intimidating attending an event by yourself. So maybe go with someone that you know and shake a few hands, understand people in general. You could meet people in the most strange locations. Like sometimes, yes, it's networking events that you actually meet them, but going to different events within the city, professional events, you got people in the mindset of professionalism, and starting those conversations, conferences, adding people to your network, and starting a conversation about questions. There are people who are very knowledgeable and experienced that I've reached out to and say, hey, I had a quick question about what it is that they did and learned a lot about them. I've had multiple conversations throughout the year with those people just about how things are going, how business is going, changes that are happening in their lives. And it wasn't that I'm poaching them to take them and put them somewhere else, as people say, but it was building a relationship. And then eventually it came to a point where I did have a role for them. And I said, hey, we've had so many conversations. I feel like I know you at this point. I have a role that I think is perfect for you. And there started the relationship, which essentially is networking, staying connected with those individuals. So you send a message, follow up. It doesn't have to be within a week or 2 weeks, but follow up with them. Maybe it's an annual follow up or a monthly follow up, whatever your target or reason for connecting with that person. That's kind of how you would make sense of how often you need to follow up.
Mhm.
People will like your posts or share your posts. A great way to connect with those people is, hey, how's it going? Thanks for liking my post. How are things going with you? I've had people reach out and say, any chance that we could hop on a call? I want to pick your brain. Absolutely. And we hop on and it's 15 minutes. It doesn't always have to be, an elaborate 1 hour. We're not interviewing. They just want to have a chat or they have a quick question. There's a lot of people that have expertise. Organizations can reach out to different individuals that have liked their posts, that are candidates, understanding the market. And, if they're having a challenge filling roles, it's a quick question that you ask and finding out trends and what those challenges are, because the market changes all the time. What candidates are looking for changes. And so, we can go on data that happened a year ago, 2 years ago, but if we don't understand what candidates want to fill a job, we're going to keep spiraling. And same on the side of candidates. What are employers looking for? And truly understanding it. We read job descriptions and we read the title, and then we don't even read what the job is and we apply, right? Let's read what the job description is. So we see what the link is, who posted the job, who are people within those companies that we can connect with and build authentic relationships. We may not get the job then, but we may get it another job down the line or referred for another job. That happens all the time. Interviews. Also, I get a lot of people who they'll go in for an interview and they didn't get the job. But the conversations were great and they left an impact. I've been part of those where we sat with operations managers or hiring managers, and the conversation really left an impact. It wasn't a fit for that position in particular, but they were a fit for the company. And so we have thought, well, how can we get this person within the company? Do we have an opportunity? Let's put this one aside and let's have a conversation to see where we might find a fit. Interviews and it's in face-to-face networking. I mean, it's the best way to network. You get 1 hour to have a conversation about yourself. You're talking about yourself, and you can ask any question you want to the employer to understand, is this the company I want to be with, right? So it's great. And then alumni events are another a great opportunity. People have so many alumni events that they could go to. People that you've gone to school with get jobs, right? And they know people. And so when you go there and you have conversations, I got a job once at a birthday party where, how are things going? Good. I'm looking for a career change. And that's how I got my first recruitment job.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, I think I'm looking to make a change. I really want to focus on recruitment. That next day, I got a phone call. So you could have conversations anywhere. Social media, in person. Social media is great because it's a public way that people kind of put out their different events. People have live events now, especially now more after COVID. Everyone's kind of doing Zoom events, so you don't actually have to go out. You could just be professional here up and then go to these live events and add to the chat. And I met someone through a live event. I met them at an event a few months later and we recognized each other through the video. And I was like, were you at this event? Yes. Oh, hi, how are you? And we started a conversation. So networking and relationships come in so many different formats. It's never just one formula. It's about, what are different ways that you can reach out to people, that you can learn about the industry, you could learn about the individual and what does it take to get there. You want to be a project manager or superintendent or accountant, talk to them. Different accountants have got to where they are from different avenues. Superintendents have gotten that way, and you're not going to know different routes or avenues you can take without those conversations. I know many different ways people have gotten to their careers, but I've got that from conversations that I had. Recruiters, same in my industry, having conversations with them, understanding how they got to where they are, business owners, how they got to where they are. I took a little bit of each one of those conversations, those relationships, and I still talk to those people to kind of, as I'm growing my business, understand as they're growing their business, how can those relationships even help? And then some of those became my clients, which have been great.
Beautiful. And so I guess some of the themes is be curious about people. So genuine curiosity about them, reciprocity. So you're not in it for transactional reasons. You're there to genuinely give and graciously receive. And you want to make sure that you're putting deposits in the reciprocity bank. You're checking in with them. You're looking at them as a human. You are consistent. And you're mixing up the ways you connect with people. So virtual, online, maybe DMs or Zoom chats or social media commentary and in-person events of all kinds. So would you recommend that, like, how much time would you recommend that someone invest in building their network? Because I know a lot of people love AI, but my personal belief is, and maybe you can comment on this, but my personal belief is AI cannot replace human connection, no matter how many posts we put up and bots we bring into our business to help automate things. Like, human connection absolutely trumps so much of this digital world. So what would you say about that?
I would say networking is like an investment. The more you put in, the more you're going to get back. So if you want to be social out there and networking, you're going to be putting in, like I would say, about an hour a day at minimum. You're networking with people. And it doesn't have to be extreme. Networking can be just from your computer, and then other days it can be more. But if you're looking for a job, you're networking almost consistently. It's almost all day. What's it when you're sleeping?
Yeah.
Now, do you have to be at your computer kind of going all out all the time? Absolutely not. But, listening for different events, as I mentioned, all those different things. If you're networking, you're listening for different events that are happening, you're attending and having those conversations. It's kind of spread out throughout the day. But the more networking you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. And networking is not just passing it off to someone else and someone else is doing all of that for you, because now they're networking, and you're not building your network. Network is them trying to, as a relationship, it's them understanding who you are. And so if you're not doing the work, then they're not getting to know you and who you are. And that relationship, it's missing its mark.
And you've got to do the work before you need the result. You've got to do the work before you need the position. You've got to do the work I know for myself, I've hired the best people by literally talking to other people. I make a phone call to someone I haven't talked to in 3 or 4 years, but you know what? we had a really great relationship. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking to hire someone. I know you do this. You're amazing. And it's a great opportunity for us to reconnect. And all of a sudden they have 5 people for me. Or I think there is so much value in human connection and having people to go to for different things, but you can't do that 5 minutes before you need the answer. You've had to build that up over time. And so you're recommending an hour a day, and let's say minimum like an hour a week. Let's say you're super busy and you can't do anything. Minimum someone should do is like go to one event a week, book one call a week, do something at least once a week. Could we agree on that? Like, let's say
100%.
the minimum to like maintain your basic health in the networking basic networking,
Absolutely.
an hour a week. But
Yeah,
let's do an hour a day, because human connection is key. And you might not think of it, but it's an investment. This is not costing you time. You might be like, oh, it's costing me time, it's costing me money, it's costing me energy. No, this is an investment, because this will pay off in the long run, but it's not a one and done. This is not a 5-minute strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I've met people through like networking events and know where they live and been in town, and we've met up for dinner and had more conversation about how things are going. Like, networking can take so many natural different routes. But I think if you're not out there and you're not visible and you're not putting the work in, you're not going to end up getting it back. And so you're right. A lot of people are like, okay, now I need to find someone, or now I need to get a job. Okay, so now I'll start posting. It's like, okay, well, that takes time. Like that, building that relationship. Sometimes, again, if it's transactional, that's different. Sometimes you can reach out, they just happen to be applying and it works and you get the job, but that's not networking, that's applying in different routes. Networking is when you're building that relationship. And so if you've done it so well, when you are looking for a job or when you are looking for candidates, I've had candidates refer people to me, candidates that I've gone to a job, they're like, I'm not interested, but actually I do know someone, give me a moment. And then that connection happened. But that connection never would have happened if I hadn't built an authentic relationship to say, I'm not here to, you must take this job and it must happen now. Like, nobody takes jobs when you do that. They hang up and they never answer your call again, in my professional opinion and experience. But when you treat someone like a human being and respect the work that they've put in to say, this isn't the right move for me, a lot of the time people will say, but I do know someone that I think that this is a great fit. That is networking at its best. And it wasn't something that just happened in the moment. I've talked to people for years. It's sporadic and it's here and there, but people that I built back in 2005, I still will message and say, hey, how's it going? Or have messaged me and say, hey, haven't talked to you since you were at this company. How are things going?
Beautiful. So just before we wrap, you have a busy life. You've got kids, you've got your own health that you take care of, you've got your business, you've got a life. So can you share some of your professional habits or routines, as well as your personal habits or routines, that help you move forward in excellence every day? So what do you do for yourself personally and professionally to keep you going?
So I've learned to set boundaries for myself. I have absolutely no problem working long hours. I love what I do, but I am a business owner. I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am an aunt. I have many different hats that I wear, and I like to be present for the people that are in my life. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes tragedy in your life to learn that you need to make time for something other than your career. And that's where I started implementing, I take the time in the morning for myself. I work out every morning. That's just something that kind of gets my head in the game. It actually helps me to get organized for the day. As I'm working out, I go through, what do I need to do today? When I'm done, I get ready. I do my own work on myself in the morning. That also helps me to strategize for business. I speak with you almost every morning. And we talk about not only business strategies, but we talk about personal strategies as well too, making sure that's always at the forefront when I'm planning my day. I make sure that I block off time with my kids on a daily basis. And I know that sounds silly, how you have to block time for your kids, but sometimes you get into, the day-to-day tasks of the day, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it's past dinner and I have not stopped. So taking the time to connect, you have dinner with your family, you sit at the table. How was your day? And I think we've talked about it. I do best, worst. We all go through, was the best part of your day, was the worst part of your day. And it kind of keeps your mind focused on what's important at the moment and staying present. And then taking that opportunity to wind down at the end of the day. And sometimes it's, what hasn't been accomplished by today, making sure that that's on the to-do list for tomorrow, because I love my checklists, going through and making sure that it's there for tomorrow. But being conscious, being present in the moment in what I'm working with, whether it's work itself, the person I'm speaking with, or the family member that I'm with, I try and make a conscious effort to be present. And so that helps me to balance out things a little bit more. But it's not like a rigorous schedule where I must stop working by this time in order for me to, get here. And that works for some people. But for me, I kind of break it up. I do this at this point, get some work in. Okay, I've got my break here. Okay, now I work some more. And that might be just being an owner. But I think balance for everyone is different. And that's important to understand, that where you kind of break up your day won't look the same for everyone. So you just got to kind of make sure that when you're breaking it up, this is the breakup that makes sense for me. And so let's go. And that's how balance kind of lands in my lap.
Beautiful. I love that. Now, if someone wants to learn more about you and your services and how you work, or connect to you for some reason, how can they do that? How can our audience connect with you?
So the best way to reach out to me is via LinkedIn, Rosalie Salamone, and I'm on there regularly. So I connect with people. I try and stay up with all of my messages as much as possible on a daily basis. Usually I'm at 0 every single day, but I am on it pretty regularly. So if someone wants to connect with me, have a conversation, if they want to talk about what Dedita does, or they just want to talk about recruitment in general, they can reach out to me there. That's kind of the best way to reach out to me.
Beautiful. I'll make sure that my team puts a link of yours in the chat below the video. So if you are watching this, if it's not there now, it will be very, very shortly. So it's the best way to connect with Rosalie. So thank you for joining me and just sharing your feedback on building these authentic relationships and maintaining these authentic relationships. Do you have any final words of wisdom before we wrap?
I guess a little tidbit, when I look up I love percentages and numbers and that kind of thing. 85% of jobs are filled through networking. And I think that's an important piece to understand. And we did talk about, it's not a quick transaction. So, consistent networking, just in general, it doesn't even have to be just for work. Networking can leak into different areas within your life. Just be consistent, invest in what you want to receive back.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. And I know people will get tons and tons of value from this. So connect with Rosalie on LinkedIn if you are interested. And we will be back again next week with